Hello YouTube and welcome to an all new Elder Scrolls lore video. Today we've got a short video on the House of Reveries, a legendary group of artists and performers from the Somerset Isles who are among the best troops of artists ever to grace the face of Tamriel, according to themselves at least. So that said, let's immediately get on with this video. So, as said before in the intro, the House of Reveries is a legendary group of performers that consists only out of the best artists, musicians, dancers and other performing artists one can find around Tamriel, specifically the Somerset Isles. They take in only the very best, making them a group of grand status and immense talent. However, while their talent definitely sets them apart from other troops of artists, there is one definitive trait that sets all the artists in the House of Reveries apart. They perform anonymously. They perform under stage names and wear masks so that none in the audience will ever know their true self. Nor does anyone from their previous life or career know their new stage names or their admittance into the House of Reveries. You see, the goal of the House of Reveries is that only the best artists with a genuine love for their craft can join, and the way to test this is by having them cast aside all that they previously achieved and having them cast aside their entire personal identity. This is so they can completely focus on the performance and have the enjoyment of the audience be completely caused by the performance and not by the looks or status of the performer. One joins the House of Reveries not to become famous or to make money or to get status. One only joins the house to further their craft and share it with the world. Their stage name will become their new name, their alias will become their new identity, and the old famous performer will be cast aside and forgotten. They will wear 1,000 faces but will never show their own. They will become the persona that they have chosen, which could mean altering their personality, looks or even gender. This creed was dictated by the founder of the House of Reveries, a legendary performer who went by the stage name of Grand Maestro Ingress. According to official House of Reveries history, she was a great performer once, an elf of noble intentions and likely noble heritage. She had significant wealth to her name after a long and successful career of performance. All her life she honed her performance skills and performed in many disciplines herself, apart from dancing. She also went with singing, drama, and according to legend she even tried her hand at juggling, as she held great respect towards all performers, high and low, from the humblest street beggar juggling to the ultimate noble honing their skills for centuries. It's said that when she got older, however, she got more and more dissatisfied with many of her fellow performers. She realized that many of them simply performed to gain wealth, power, notoriety or influence. As her life went on, it's said that she well saw this darkness spreading to more and more performers, until she'd had enough and reflected on what she could do to change the troubling trend that she could see happening in front of her eyes. She then decided to found a new troupe of artists, one without a care for monetary rewards, influence or anything like that. This group would live solely for the thrill of the stage. She cast aside her former identity and took up a mask to perform in anonymity, requiring all those that joined the troupe to do the exact same thing. The original identities of the performers would be forever hidden, and all those who took off their mask would be expelled from the group. And thus the House of Reveries was born, and over time more and more dedicated artists joined this troupe over the centuries, until it had become one of the most famous artist troupes on all of Tamriel. Over time the group became larger, with more and more artists joining their ranks, and eventually the troupe established themselves in the Somerset town of Reveries, where they built several facilities for their members and a grand amphitheater for their performances. On this stage in Reveries, the majority of the shows organized by the troupe take place. However, as time went on, the House of Reveries also started sending out wandering groups of artists, which traveled all of Somerset and Tamriel, organizing their shows in other places as well. When on the road, such a traveling troupe does not take any servants with them. Each member of the traveling troupe is expected to pull their weight and care for the horses, cook, dig out latrines and unpack the wagons. Even the highest ranking members, from the Grand Maestro of the entire House of Reveries or the regular Maestro which leads a caravan, to the most lowly member of the troupe, none is better than the other, and each are expected to live solely for the stage and not for the command of servants or to have, their pains eased. While a life like this, at least to me, doesn't seem all too attractive, the auditions to join the House of Reveries are said to be quite well visited, with many artists coming from all across Tamriel. They hold auditions 4 times a year, 1 session for each season, and an audition takes a few weeks, and during that time anyone can jump on the stage and try to join. Once you jump on the stage, you will be observed by one to a few full members of the House of Reveries, and if your performance is good enough, one of them will sponsor you. And if you get a sponsor, you are allowed to progress to the second stage of the auditions, in which you get provided a mask and your first state is in the house. You're not a member yet, but you will be called a hopeful from that point on, as you are hoping to join the House of Reveries as a permanent member. As a hopeful, you can enter the facilities at Relentil, prime of which is the Manor of Masks, the house used by the House of Reveries to practice their craft in privacy. Here you're allowed to train with professionals for your second edition, as you're being guided by a mentor, which is a senior member of the house tasked to guide the hopefuls. After honing their skills, the hopefuls go up for a second audition, this time in front of the Grand Maestro of the troop, which at the time of the Elder Scrolls Online, when we encounter the House of Reveries, is a guy named Grand Maestro Forte, who will decide whether or not you will be allowed to join the troop as a full member, or whether you will need to try again next season. As I said before, we can encounter this troop in the Elder Scrolls Online, where we can infiltrate the group as we undertake a mission to look for someone's sibling in the Manor of Masks quest. This quest, in my opinion, is quite good, and I'm very hesitant to spoil it, as it's not really full of extra lore that I haven't told yet, but the quest itself is full of twists and turns and careful investigation as you try to find out which of the mask-wearing individuals is the lost sibling, so you can convince that sibling to come back to their family or stay at the House of Reveries. This quest has a pretty amazing plot twist and covers some of the more interesting world lore that I plan to cover in a future video. However, covering that now would be spoiling the quest, and since that lore is unrelated to the House of Reveries, I will not spoil it now, so you can play the quest if you wish and have all the plot twists intact. You can get the quest by talking to this lady in Relentil. Again, the plot twists, I didn't see them coming, and that's pretty rare. I really recommend playing the quest if you want. Mind was blown, let's just say that. Anyway, that was all there's to say on the House of Reveries. I hope that you learned something new, and if you did, consider returning next time for the next Elder Scrolls lore video, probably next week. Now, before I end things, allow me to vocally thank my top patrons, Mr. Bernardo Binda, Gabriel Binda, Mr. Christmas, and Sword of Bushido. These wonderful people, along with all the others on screen, are my Patreon supporters, and it's due to their support that I can continue making these lore videos. And for that, I am just very grateful. That said, I will see you next time in the next Elder Scrolls lore video. Bye bye.